first time I actually speak to you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you, Maria.
your always liking the post and speaking and encouraging and enthusiasm. It's wonderful to be able to share what's happening here and to have so much response and enthusiasm. That is a big strength for me and a big encouragement always for me, and inspire me as well, that others get inspired of what's happening here.
Yes.
And your response is always very lively, very quick, and thank you.
I mean, you're more than welcome. It's a pleasure, isn't it? And it's great to see the amazing work you're all doing there. I mean, Maria, what you're doing with your students is mind-blowing. Yeah, and it's very inspiring, to see what you're doing there with those kids. Um, you know, I know it's been a few years now, but still, going from scratch and going from students who don't have probably the means to normally get this kind of education, and you're just giving them such an opportunity, and it's just really inspiring. So thank you, Maria, for all the work you're doing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, Maria, I really enjoyed that time in Cape Town with you. I think of you often, and I really, as Guillaume said, it's really inspiring what you are doing. So you need to teach us how.
you need to be you need to adapt to a lot of chaos.
I'm sure, but it's also very rewarding, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. It's wonderful to see a life transformation after 10 years now. It's the first 5-6 years you see nothing, and everyone thinks you're crazy. And now it's really becoming beautiful, because we can see all the doors that are opening, and we can see the vision of these children, and their way to look at life is completely extraordinary. And the ones that did not get a violin in their hands is unfortunately not at all the same. And it actually makes them stand out, because they are so different, and because they really became beautiful human beings, like Suzuki says.
Yes.
Exactly.
Just to put people who might not be aware of it, I'm just gonna share a video that you shared from your last concert. Because we're talking about the amazing work you're doing, Maria. So I'm just gonna put one of your the last basically one of those. So lovely. Yeah, so I mean, this is just it's an amazing way to show the work you're doing there. But since we're talking about this, Maria, maybe you could just give us a little idea of how did you get to this point? How did you get to work with the children to get to these standards? And when did you start working with them and all of that? What's the name of this group again? Is it Music Kids?
Yes, that's right. Yes. I think I wanted to be in South Africa. Education is very selective, so you need not only to take violin lessons, but just to go to school is very expensive in South Africa. So poor people that do not have participated school are often in public schools, which today the standard is not allowing them. Can you hear me? It's very difficult. Must I continue to speak? Can you hear me? Is there a problem?
No, it's no problem. I just put myself on mute just because I could hear you better. That's all. You go ahead.
Okay. It's very difficult to get education if you have nothing in South Africa, if you are poor. So I think you can divide South Africa in two categories of people that have and people that don't have. And unfortunately, people that don't have are 90% of the population. So I felt also that I'm part of a regime that existed here before, and I'm part of the consequences of what is happening here, which is devastating. And I felt all I can do to contribute is to try and make things better by teaching children to play violin. But at the same time, being a Suzuki teacher, I was curious myself. I wanted to find out for myself how well can a child play if you really apply the Suzuki method, because it's very difficult sometimes, even in Europe, to be a Suzuki teacher with one student for 10 years and 15 years. So yeah, I had the freedom to really do the Suzuki method, but also I am also the mother. I practice with them. So I was able to literally practice with them 4 times a week because they cannot practice in the places where they are living. So to me, it was a personal challenge and also curiosity to see what kind of result will you have. But none of them asked to play violin. So I literally put the violin in their hands when they were 4 and 5 years old. They didn't ask for it. And slowly, I think we all know I was able to really make it fun for them because I was not in the conditions of a normal music school. I could do what I want. Even if I didn't have space or enough violence, I could make music as much as I want, fun. I had no time. When the Europeans come and work with me, they ask me, what is the schedule? There's no schedule. It's chaos all the time. But the most important thing is that they were playing every day, playing all the time. And COVID helped me a lot. When COVID came, I could really, literally, I took all of them in a house in town. I asked the parents to let me have them in town, and it was like a big youth hostel, and I could house the people in the youth hostel. Allowed me to stay there with all the students, and there was Wi-Fi, and in COVID we could literally play every day, all the time, for a long time. And so I am very happy to also show to South Africa what can be the results of the Suzuki teaching in general, because it's very much criticized. When I arrived here, the Suzuki method was not in a very good, there was not a very good vision of it in Cape Town. And today I can also say to South Africa and the government and everybody in education, if you give these children deserve the best. Look what happens. Look, now they play better violin than most children of their age in South Africa. And I say, this can be the same for maths, for school, for science, for general education. They must get the best they deserve. Look how good they do when they are getting the best quality of teaching. So I hope South Africa will also hear me, because now they are on stage and I managed to get them in better schools, better high schools, because of this argument, and because I could tell people, but there's nothing wrong with them. they come from a township, but I'm sure they can be good in maths. I'm sure they can be good in science as well. So those are the two things I really wanted to do, is have children show these people that Suzuki is a good method. It works. It makes beautiful, passionate students, loving people, nice community, security for them, community life. It's their home now. The Suzuki classes is their home, it's their friends, it's their family. So it's all good for Suzuki. It's working. Suzuki is working.
I like that. I'm gonna remember that Suzuki is working. I think what I really like of what you explained is that you wanted to give something to these communities. And because you had the tools of the Suzuki method, you thought, well, let me just try it, see if it works. And well, not just if it works, but how can I make it work in this society, in this particular way that you were doing it? Like you were also practicing with them. Like you said, it's not the usual way, but you found a way to adapt Suzuki method to this community. And
yes,
you kept the most important things, which is, basically you're trying to get them a better life through music. And that is what Suzuki music is about. It's about nurturing kids, nurturing the families and getting them to a better space through
exactly.
the love of music, through playing music, through playing violin together. So that's amazing that you've been able to do it until now. And of course, you're going to continue, I hope. But, all the work you've been doing until now, it just shows how much you've been able to do. So thank you for that. Very inspiring, and I'm sure it's inspiring for everyone that can see this also in South Africa, that, it is possible to do it. It's possible to reach out and find ways. And so, like you said, you have to show it to everyone that,
Yeah.
these kids can do it. If they can do music, they can also do anything else. And you're giving them an education that otherwise will be lacking, but at the same time, you're enriching their lives so they can do much more. You're also telling the kids and the families, you can do it. Every child can, basically, is what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I love the fact that you're saying Suzuki works, even in these circumstances, not in the traditional Western countries where everybody can afford lessons and they just go to lessons and it's a usual thing. But it's amazing that you do it in a completely different way and it works. Yeah, no, thank you for that. If there's anything else you want to say, you can add it as well. But yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Just the last thing, I think what you were just showing in the concert as well in the video, it's very important. It was very important to make the music, to adapt also the music to their own culture.
Mm-hmm.
And to play repertoire that speak to them and resonate with them. So, of course, the first year it was only book 1 and book 2 of Suzuki. Very classic. It was very foreign to them. Very foreign. Even the the tone is very foreign in the African culture of the classical music. But from the moment that we started playing their own traditional music, and they could dance with the music and sing, and they are incredible. I cannot do that. They dance and play and sing at the same time. And I think that made it more acceptable to the families as well. Suddenly they realized this is not a European. In the beginning, they thought this is a Western culture thing. The parents were not happy with me. They didn't like me. They thought I'm bringing something to them which is from the white community, and which they don't want to be influenced by that. And then the moment we adapted more of their own music into it, the parents started understanding. But I can just finish to say it takes a very long time. Nothing came overnight. It's only now, after 10 years, that families are also happy, understanding more, and you need to wait for the results. You actually need to wait that these children can tell their own story before anyone believes you.
Yes.
So it was very long. No one believed me, and everyone was fighting for me. Even the schools, I was like a person that interrupt classes, that interrupt children's lives, that interrupt everything. And I made their children slaves. They thought I'm making them slaves because I make them play 4 times a week, 4 times a day. I mean, in a week.
I know. No.
So, but
Yes.
it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's a miracle also.
Yeah. It is a miracle when it happens, right? When it's
Yeah.
Hey, well done. Thank you, Maria. I'm sure we'll come back to this. I just wanted to quickly just connect with 2 people who are here from Spain. One of them is actually about to leave on a plane, so I just want to say hello before she goes. Rebecca, so hello. And also, yes, and is it Alice and Zanti? Is it how I can remember how you say your name? And you're with a cat as well, yes. So
Hello.
hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hello. I wanted to talk very quickly with you because Shanti, you did something amazing to this community. You practiced for 60 days, is that correct? Well done. And I hope that made a big difference in you playing. And
Yeah, it's
so
been,
much better.
well, Rebecca, has it made it? ¿Ha hecho un cambio en su práctica? Sí, ha hecho.
Sí, Santi está ya haciendo casi los 100 días.
Yes.
Sí,
Oh,
sí.
wow, almost 100 days. Well done.
Bueno, sí, ella ha hecho ahora más que 90, casi 90, bueno, no,
And now,
80 o no sé, pero sí, está en camino para
Yes.
90.
and now Santi play
Really
very
well.
good.
Oh,
Really.
She's doing really well.
Really change in your position. It's very good.
I just wanted to talk. I mean, for everyone to know that what Shanti did was quite amazing. Basically, she posted a video to her family and friends to say sponsor me for this practice challenge. But what is really amazing is the response that she got, because just on her own she managed to raise about £650 for this cause. So it would be amazing that you actually have to say thank you so much, because you made a big difference to all of this. So thank you for your practice. Thank you for your video.
I have to say, it did give her such a momentum to practice, knowing that what she was doing it for. I don't think if I just asked her to just practice for 60 days, she would have done it. But she wanted to sort of feel that she was helping, and she was playing what was it, a gavotte, and she sent a video of it with her starting the gavotte at the beginning of the challenge to the people and asked for them to sponsor her, and she explained what it was for. And I have to say, even I was completely overwhelmed by the response of people. They just saw that she, that she obviously loves her violin. Everybody knows that. And whenever we go back to Scotland, she takes it with her, and she plays in the church there, and she'll play for anybody. She likes an audience. And but then when we finished the challenge, we sent gavotte again to them so they could see the difference, and to say thank you to them and that she had done very well, and that I mean, I loved going back to your page all the time and going, more, because I had said, can you put Xanthi so that I know? Yes. For her as well, so that we could see who had sort of taken up the sort of the call to arms, and it was brilliant. It was lovely watching it coming in. So I'm glad it's made a difference for you.
Yeah, and also, I mean, at the end of the day, we are doing all this, of course, to fundraise for a cause, but it is also to understand what practice is for.
Oh God, of course, yeah.
Is that progress, and you've seen it firsthand. And I'm sure all your families who've been doing it, who've been going through it, I can see it, a few parents here who've been going through this process, and they have seen, before and after these days. And the point of doing this is because sometimes it's really hard to see the progress. Because from day to day, you don't really see much progress. It's a very slow, it's very difficult to visualize it. That's what I'm trying to say. But if you have like a beginning and an end, and you, like you said, you do a video at the beginning and a video at the end, you can really see how much have you been able to do. And it's much easier to see the point of practice, or the power of practice. That's why I called it this way, this talk. It's an amazing power. And it's something that, again, going back to the Suzuki principles, we are learning beyond the instrument, that discipline and the commitment to something. Whatever it is, if you stick to something and you keep doing it, you're gonna get better. There's no other way. If you keep doing it, you're gonna be amazing by the end of it. So this just shows that an extra motivation, raising money towards something can give that extra motivation to do, okay, I'm gonna go for it and practice for 60, 90, 100 days, whatever it is. So thank you so much. Santi, it's been amazing. Maybe one day we'll meet. I would love to.
Yeah. What do you say to that?
You're welcome.
No, thank you. Yes. Is there anyone else here? Is it Catherine? You got somebody there who's also a youngster who probably did the practice as well, I can imagine. I don't know if you want to say something or how you found the experience. Yeah, that's it.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes. Yeah, I've got Elizabeth here. She was what you do, the 30-day challenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
How did you find it? Did you find it, was it easy to practice having a challenge than just doing it over the day? Yeah.
It was quite easy, personally.
Okay, that's good. That's great. Did you find that you have progressed through this practice time?
Yes, I actually learned quite a lot of pieces.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Amazing. I think your teacher's saying yes as well, probably. Yes. That's also good to know that the teacher agrees. But yes, great. Very good. And I can see there's at least one more parent here of the challenge. Am I wrong? Not everybody's a teacher here, is it? Is there anyone else who wants to say something?
Can I? I think
Yes,
I count as.
please go ahead. You haven't said anything yet. Sorry. Go ahead.
So my family is actually at a family lunch. It's my my mother's family birthday lunch, dinner. So they're not here with me at the moment, but my three children are all violinists or becoming violinists, and I'd like to contribute to this in twofold. I'm a Suzuki piano teacher, and my pianists, I'm so sorry, not one of them pitched up in this meeting today, but I saw a huge improvement in my studio last year when we started the challenge. Most of them just took on the 30-day challenge. They didn't see that they could do it for 60. And it was beautiful to see how many of them said, oh no, please print me the 60-day form as they were getting to the end of the 30 days because they were doing it. So that was really inspiring. In general, I think in my studios community, there was also a little bit of competition going. They were comparing their practice charts with each other, and getting some on board that weren't on board initially. So that's the one part. The other part is my own children. There were some breakthroughs because of the practice challenge, and for us, it was to show up daily. I'm not sure if for a mom that's a music teacher, it's a little bit like a mechanic that never works on his own car. But it is such a challenge for me to get my children to practice every day, especially because I'm teaching. I often, I don't want to say, I guess I'm at a loss of inspiration sometimes to get them to take those violins out. But because we had the practice challenge, the violins just stayed out on our dining room table. We didn't put them away. That was the one rule. And I said, you know, whatever, we have to do something every day. And it made a huge difference in everyone's confidence and in everyone's playing. But then the other thing that I'd like to say is my children had the privilege of being able to start their violin journeys, two of them at least, with Maria. And they were in the very, very beginning days of the Music Kids. My oldest son, he's now 14, turning 15 this year. He would go to group lessons. And I mean, that was the exposure of meeting up with Maria's Music Kids. And that experience, Maria said a lot about changing those children's lives with what she was doing in her work. But it changed our life as well, because suddenly there was this bridge that music started building. And my children, who would not otherwise necessarily befriend children from townships, because we live next to each other and amongst each other, we pass each other every day, but there's no real understanding of each other's lives and the unique challenges. And being able to make friends, there are two boys in Maria's program with her senior students that my children are so fond of, Aliswa and Unam. And I have beautiful stories that they often recount. One was at the school where they did their lessons. There was a dog that started chasing the children, and children in general are very cautious with dogs. This dog was actually just playing, but it nipped my son on the heel. And then Aliswa was about, I think, about the same size, if not smaller, picked Leon up over his shoulder and carried him all the way from the sports field to the music class where we were. And it made such an impression on my younger son. You know, someone picked up his brother and carried him to safety. And there's something beautiful that Suzuki brings into the South African community. If we bring the music to the have-nots and we open our hearts and we open our doors, I think it's for every community in society. It's that thing of creating beautiful, or focusing on beautiful people, beautiful hearts, beautiful spirit, building character first. And so this practice challenge was a good reminder in our house, at least, to say, well, you know, what are we raising the money for? And I said, for other children who are learning the violin. And my middle child immediately said, well, I want some money. And, you know, I'm practicing, I'm going to get some money. And his brother very quickly reminded him of where the money should be going. Because I can say this now, they didn't know that some of Maria's students wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and walk to a bus stop to get to school, to be able to pitch up at school at 7. Not one, they catch a taxi and then they catch another one and then they get a bus to get to school. And my children were like, what? You walk to a bus stop in the dark? And that's realizing and building a real understanding for and enabling our children to really see each other. And I think that is something that is really, truly priceless. And I think maybe to some extent on the sports field, that kind of understanding and friendship can be built, but not in the same way and to the same depths that it can be done when children are making music together. And so my heart in all of this is to say thank you, Guillem, because if we are enabling the children, it also creates a deeper understanding and moments where we can build friendship. So I've been very privileged with my children to be able to see that. I know there are other families in the community in Cape Town that have had the same privilege with the Music Kids, but I hope that we can see more and more of that all over not only our country, but maybe the Suzuki family, the Suzuki community worldwide.
Yes, thank you, Sonika. It's great to hear that it's worked on so many levels, this practice challenge. And I think it's, from what you're saying, it's also important to acknowledge the Suzuki community as a whole, and whether it's within a teacher studio or, you know, between different students, different teachers, that we are one community and that we can share all these things together. We have similar values and similar goals. And, it's really nice that we're able to talk about it between us, but also, one day I might meet with some of you, or another family, some families might meet with some other families in a workshop, in a concert or something. And it's really nice that, we understand each other at a certain level. I've experienced it so many times, even when you don't speak the language, but you can still play together because you're playing the same instrument or the same music. And yeah, that community feeling is amazing. And when I showed that little clip of the music kids earlier, what I love about that clip is that the kids are having a ton of fun. They're playing and dancing and singing and all that. But then the camera goes to the audience, and you see the audience is also like having the best time of their lives. And that is the power of the community in Suzuki. So it can transform a society. So the work you're doing over there is amazing. That's why I wanted to do the challenge as well, to help you, because I can see that you're doing so much, and we can help you in some way. And this is my way to help, give you a challenge, give you something, motivation, and then also, of course, some money. I know it's not a lot of money, but it's some money that will go a long way, because I know that you will be able to use this money in a very wise way, towards the South African community. In fact, Seneca, I don't know if you want to, maybe Carol, I don't know, talk about how this money is going to be used, or some ideas, even if it's not like 100%, but in what way are you thinking?
Excuse me, can I just interrupt? I have to go.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Sonika will tell you that part. I don't know anything about that part.
That's right.
But it's nice meeting you. I'm so sorry that I have to.
That's completely fine. It's been a pleasure to meet you, Maria.
We hope to see you soon.
Yeah. It would be lovely. Yeah, it would be lovely. Yes, and continue with your amazing work.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, I don't know. What we were saying is, Sonika, what you want to continue with talking about how? Yeah.
Sure. So I think let me just quickly do this so that I can see all of you. So I know that Carol, okay, so I'm here in Paarl in Cape Town, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm a Suzuki piano teacher. I trained with the British Suzuki Music Institute. Long story short, I'm a Suzuki mom, and I've been, I don't know, by chance, been privileged to be cheering for the South African Suzuki Association. And I think it's the third year, starting the third year this year. It was a challenge. It was not something that I planned to do. It's not something that I necessarily, it was not on my vision board, if I could say it like that. But it's been fantastic in a way that Suzuki is dear to me. It's something that I feel passionate about. And here in South Africa, the method is still actually quite unknown in general. The long and the short is the work that Maria has started in Cape Town. It was a privilege for me. She was my Suzuki lifeline. I came from a very healthy, vibrant Suzuki family in London to almost very little on this side. I think it was just Maria and one other teacher in Cape Town, Renee van der Westhuizen. So long story short, to start that journey with the music kids was amazing for us. We drove an hour each week to be able to have some lessons. Sometimes my children were able to have an individual lesson, but like Maria said, it's chaos. You can only play it by ear, and sometimes it was just group playing together. It just depended on who was there and what was available. But the long story short is, from that experience, I know exactly that the money doesn't just go to lessons, because to pay someone who doesn't have, if you can say it like that, to say, oh, here's some money for you to have a violin lesson, and even a violin as well. The children need transport. The children need to be fed. Maria feeds them. So the children need data. A lot of them, their phones are their lifeline, you know, to be able to connect with their families. And even though they live in a township, they have those telephones. And especially in COVID, a lot of them use the data for online lessons. So some children need clothing. It all depends on the family. It all depends on the child. But the funding that goes towards it, it's not just to pay for lessons and then you're so lucky you get to pitch up, you know, and do the lesson. It's to really take care of the whole child and to make sure that every part where you can support and help the child, you're doing that. So the music kids, I think the group has now, it's grown. They are here in Cape Town, but there's also a group that started out in Port Elizabeth. And together with Maria, we plan to look at what the need is, whether it is, especially in July, there's some teacher trainers coming from the European Suzuki Association to visit us and to do a Suzuki conference and workshop. It'll be our first one since COVID. And I know for a fact that many children, including those in KwaZulu-Natal, where Carol is part of a project at a school called the Lions River School. I'm hoping, Carol, you will be saying something just after I did about that. And Carol is very inspired by it. So she's got students that and wants to start something up in KwaZulu-Natal. So just to give you an idea, I think that's about a 2-hour flight from where we are in Cape Town. And Johannesburg, which is another hub province where there's quite a lot of Suzuki activity happening, is also about a 2-hour flight from us. And then we have a lot of friends that are checking in from Zimbabwe. And I know very much that we share very similar needs with our students from different communities. So it's to also consider that. But what we need in South Africa is we need teachers. We've got, you know, we need teachers, more teachers, and we need teachers to which the children can also connect culturally. So what Maria has done is wonderful. And I kind of feel like she's almost brought up a generation of her senior students now that could very well be the next generation of Suzuki teachers that we need here in South Africa. But this money, Kilem, that you have raised through, actually, all of us have raised through the Practice Challenge, will be going to, we haven't decided yet. We're going to be looking very carefully, but Carol's ideas and dreams that she has for the Lions River School in KwaZulu-Natal. It's also rural, so it's really giving something to children who wouldn't otherwise ever have that opportunity. It's also to see how we can sew into the Music Kids project so that we can at least help, even if it's with their transportation, to get to the conference when when the teachers are visiting from Europe. We're hoping Guilherme would be part of that group. Because those are very much the things that we need to make sure. Safety is a huge thing. I can speak from experience. We've invited Maria's Music Kids to Paul before, and we're a bunch of families that for an evening concert. And it was just too unsafe. It's a 45-minute drive from us to get back to where they live, most of them. But it's too unsafe to drive them into the township at night to drop them off at home. So we were very fortunate that families opened their homes and we could host the children and they slept over. It was wonderful. It was such an eye-opening experience for all the families involved. But those are things that we constantly have to also consider is getting them safely to concert venues, to it, and then to get them back home as well. So there are many, many, many things to consider here and many ways in which we can contribute. But as soon as whether it's going to be food, whether it's going to be violins for Carol's project, we will definitely make sure that we let you know exactly what it's going for.
No, I mean, it sounds already great because, like you said, it's not the one thing that they need. It's a variety of things, and depending on the situation. And there's no better person than you as a community to know exactly what's needed. So I am glad to hear that it's not possible to say it's going to go directly for this, but for many different things depending on the needs And
Yes.
it's good to know that it's going to go for a good course for everything that we've been talking about, building the community and making sure that everyone gets a chance to be part of this Suzuki experience. Yes.
Thank you, Guilherme.
No, thank you, Seneca. So, Carol, could you explain a bit more about what you're doing in your part of the world?
Yeah, so first of all, Guilherme, as everybody else has said, thank you very, 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 very much for doing this practice challenge. We really appreciate it. And I've seen very good moments in the playing of a lot of my students. It was also interesting to me. I have a few children in my studio that are quite, like you can call them high flyers. They're academically smart and everything, and those kids all signed up. Even the little 8-year-old signed up for the 100-day practice challenge.
Amazing.
I said to her, "Are you sure?" Yeah, no, she's doing 100 days anyway, so she finished it. And in general, the playing standard raised very nicely. The standard of playing went up very nicely. So thank you for that. It was a very difficult time of the year. Mrs. Murray, am I right? November, December is difficult here. And I know for me, the wheels fell off me on the 20th of December. That was it. I just couldn't do anything else because I also did a practice challenge. Okay, so I think a lot of other people felt the same. All right, but thank you very much. It was very beneficial. And then in terms of the Lions River School, so our main sponsor there, the lady that was sponsoring thing, has completely dropped out. But it sounds like the principal is still happy for me to carry on. So I'm going to go there tomorrow. I think she has 2 violins and she's quite keen to get the children playing again. The 3 main ones we had have gone to high school. To find them because so it's transport and where to meet and getting people around. So that's the thing that we have to discuss. I'd say the immediate need would be for violins for the new children that are coming up, probably half-size ones. Yeah, and just discuss and see where the needs are once the teachers indicate whether it's transport or violence or whatever.
Great. No.
As far as I know, it's still continuing, and I know that the children that I have that are sort of like normal, I won't say the word normal, where they go to lessons once a week and they do group classes from time to time. Quite a few of those children come as well to the projectors to play with the children on a Saturday. We meet on every second Saturday. I meet them during the week, but then we meet them for a group class every second Saturday.
Okay.
But it's still quite small because at the moment the person who was sponsoring has taken all her violins with her. New violins, working on more.
Yeah. Well,
how often do you meet them during the week?
Go there on a Monday for an hour or 2. And then on a Saturday, every second Saturday, I go and have a group class with some of my other children. So there's about 6 or 7 or 8 children together. And it's good for the, like, I want to say probably privileged children or normal children here to actually mix. It's a very good opportunity for them to see how difficult it can be and the difficult circumstances and the buildings, and what can be done.
I have a question. Sorry, this might sound very naive, but do the children share violins, or I mean, is it safe for them to walk around with violins on their backs if they're getting up, or do they, for doing the practice, I mean, or are they practicing when they're at school? How does it?
They generally practice, the school stay at the violin and then they practice at school. 3 older ones that were doing quite nicely, they've all managed to get their own violins. They are 12, 13-year-olds and they seem to be managing to look after their violins. Yeah. So they can walk around with them.
Yeah. I don't mean them not being able to look after it. I just mean,
people stealing, And I know every now and then a violin will come in and you see somebody's been fiddling with a thing. And I just have to say to them, they mustn't touch certain parts of the violin and don't let their family interfere either. They need to look after them nicely.
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah, so Alice, if I could just, Carol, is it okay if I add to that? Especially I know from the experience with Maria's children, the violins stay at the school, and the children play it every day. But like Carol said, with her older students, they're older, they can be a little bit more assertive. It's like those children also have phones. So, it's a risk. You take a risk if you have your violin on your back, but it's like carrying anything else that is valuable. So I don't think it necessarily makes the child more vulnerable than if they were walking without their violin, if that also helps to answer that question.
I do. I mean, I haven't been to South Africa. I've spent a lot of time in Kenya when I was growing up, and I'm not trying to say it's anything the same, but I do know that thing of everyone with their mobile phones. And whereas even here in Spain, I'd be like, put it away, and they're walking around, all of, it's still. And I just wondered what the situation with music instruments, if that was something that was of interest to people who were trying to, because even here, I think in Seville, I always say to Santi, don't just put your violin on the ground, in its case, because, a musical instrument is something that is normally going to be of some value,
Exactly.
so that if you walk past and pick it up when there's lots of violins around because people are waiting for their lessons, you're going to have something of some worth in whatever you pick up, so it's just everywhere, isn't it? And they are easy to carry, and so
Exactly.
But it's very interesting. Thank you for explaining that. Thank you.
Sure. I think if I can just add to that, I think the biggest risk is rather family members, like Carol said, that don't know how to respect an instrument. So if it goes home, people will fiddle with it or, play rough with it and it breaks. We've seen that. So that's the one thing I wanted to say. And then I think in terms of children moving around in the township with their instrument, you can't swing a violin in the township as quickly as you can do a phone, for example, or a bicycle. So I don't think it's just not that easy. So unless they have some connection, it's much harder. And the music world is small. We have one of my colleagues, the violin teacher, plays for the Philharmonic. His violin was stolen out of his car in a secure, paid-for parking lot. But it must have been someone that knew that it was such an extremely valuable instrument. And after, I think, 7 or 8 months of it being gone, it was found. It was discovered in a I don't want to call it a pawn shop, but it's something similar to a pawn shop. It's called a cash converter shop, and someone picked it up for 5,000 rand. But they took it to someone to value it, and then they realized, oh my goodness, it's worth much more. And through Facebook, they found the owner again. So that's one good story about that. But I think, in general, I don't think it necessarily makes the children more vulnerable, but the violin is vulnerable, just because not everyone is educated on how to take care of an instrument. So for the little ones, they stay at school.
Yeah, thank you for that. Right, I think she just disappeared, unfortunately. But I just wanted to also, since we have somebody from Zimbabwe, I just wanted to know how is the situation there with Suzuki and how is it going, and if you want to say something about it, or how did you get into this? Are you part of the practice challenge? How I want to know a bit more.
Go ahead, Cabby. You can talk. I got the information from Cabby. I'm actually not teaching Suzuki at the moment. I'm teaching at the international school.
All right.
But I have taught Suzuki here when I lived here previously, and my kids played and grew up Suzuki, and we lived in Zimbabwe and moved away, and I'm back, but not able to teach Suzuki because I needed a work permit, and the only way to get one was at the international school.
Right.
So Cabby's in charge of our organization, so I'm going to let her talk.
Go for it. Yes, thank you.
So I'm Cabby. My name's Catherine, but people call me Cabby. And I teach very privileged children, and feel that I shouldn't be doing that living in this country. But I keep thinking I'd love to get something like similar to what well, in fact, there are a lot of outreach programs all over South Africa, I think, not just the one in Cape Town. But I just don't know how to. I don't know. So yeah, I must get in touch with Maria, I think, and find out, try and see how to get things going. That's what I would really love to do. So I've been following the challenge and watching Guillaume, your videos, which have been very inspiring. But they've inspired me anyway. I've been
that's good. That's good.
practicing. But yeah, we need to do more in Zimbabwe, I think, along those lines. So Amy has been a great inspiration coming from the States. She is the person that got me involved in the Suzuki.
Okay. Right. Well, I'm glad that.
And Shirley is also here, even though she's not on screen, but she's a cellist and a teacher. I don't know, Shirley, if you want to say hello.
Yeah. Hello, Shirley.
Hello, hi. Amy was really the kickstart to being getting the cello really up and going in Zim. So she's like the Zim cello mum.
Right.
I don't know if you can hear.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yes.
Cool.
And how did you find the experience of going through Suzuki or the practice challenge or anything of this?
I've just come in at the last minute. I felt a little bit like an interloper, but it's been very inspiring hearing all the stories from South Africa. And it'd be so nice to get more Suzuki things happening in Zim and maybe more connection between South Africa and Zimbabwe.
Yes, I'm sure that's possible. Yeah. I'm sure that South Africa will be very happy to grow the community as well between the two countries.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Thank you for speaking. I think it's all very inspiring, and I can see that, of course, in the West, we've been doing Suzuki for longer. Even from my point of view, coming from Spain, I was one of the first children doing Suzuki in the late 80s. But in this country, in UK, they've been doing it for even longer than that. But of course, for you, it's still, I'm not going to say at the very beginning, but it's still kind of starting. You're still trying to get more movement about in the Suzuki world. And I think it's very inspiring to see that, there's so many people with so much passion and wanting to make a difference in both of your countries. So, yes, well done. You can continue, continue with your hard work. I'm sure it's not easy, but well done. And thank you, really. I feel you keep saying thank you to me, but really, I think the thanks should be to all of you because you've been doing so much work towards these communities, and it's very inspiring. And that's why I jumped at the opportunity of doing something with you. The challenge and getting to know you has been amazing. So thank you all.
Thank you, Guillaume. Thank you very much.
That's all right. Okay. If there's anything else that we would like to say, or shall we just finish this meeting for today? I'm sure we can talk again another time. But the thing for today, well, at least we talked about why we done it, where the money might be going to, and how it's going to affect and how it's going to make a difference. And I think we got that. We got the idea of that, and we got a little bit of experience as well of who has been doing this practice challenge. Unfortunately, not many people who've done the practice challenge have joined this meeting, but hopefully the recording, they'll be able to see it and they'll be able to see where all this is going to and what difference is made. So thank you all for being here, and let's keep in touch because I'm sure there will be other things in the future.
Fantastic.
Good.
Thanks, everyone. Nice to see you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Hi, Andrea. Guillaume, I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
Is that video of Gavots, would you be